Something truly fundamental is changing across the American landscape. It's not just a small trend, it's a seismic shift. We're talking about a quiet, once-in-a-generation reversal of a pattern that has defined this country for nearly half a century. We are watching a nation on the move. But the destination, well, it's a place many thought was being left behind for good.
So let's just start with one single startling number: 63%. In the first few years of this decade, a staggering 63% of all rural counties in America saw their young adult population, we're talking about people aged 25 to 44, actually start to grow. This isn't just some small uptick, it's a profound demographic event that's unfolding right under our noses.
And here's where the scale of this thing gets really stunning. If you look back at the 2010s, only about a quarter, just 27% of rural counties were attracting young adults. The rest, they were shrinking, bleeding their next generation to the big cities. But then, in just a few short years, that number more than doubled. Suddenly, the story of rural America isn't one of decline anymore. It's one of sudden, really dramatic growth.
To really put this in perspective, for most of our lifetimes, the narrative has been exactly the same. Ambitious people leave small towns to go to the big cities. Since 1980, almost all the real population growth happened in metro areas with over 1 million people. What we're seeing now is a direct inversion of that. The tide isn't just turning, it's flowing hard in the complete opposite direction.
So this begs two huge questions, right? First, why are people doing this? And maybe even more important, what suddenly made it possible on such a massive scale? You see, this new wave of people, they're not just moving, they're bringing their jobs with them. And they're becoming this new kind of pioneer, the digital homesteader. And when you look at the motivations, it's all deeply human. People are just searching for a different quality of life. They want more land, more space. They want fewer people around and a home they can actually afford. They're chasing a lower cost of living, cleaner air, and let's be honest, no traffic. And for a whole lot of them, it's about reconnecting with family and finding a real sense of community. This isn't just about the money. It's a very conscious choice about how to live. And that quote really speaks to a deeper truth here. This movement isn't just an escape from the city, it's a move toward opportunity. It's people betting on a different kind of future, one where they feel like they can build something of their own, whether that's a small business, a little farm, or just a new way of life.
Okay, so the desire has been there for a while for a lot of people. But what was the key? What finally unlocked the door and made this mass exodus possible? Well, the answer isn't a new government policy. It's actually found hundreds of miles above our heads in a technology that has completely redrawn the map of where work can happen.
The real technological game changer here is the rise of low Earth orbit satellites, or LEO for short. Now, unlike the old satellites that were parked tens of thousands of miles away, these new constellations are orbiting way, way closer. And that proximity, that solves the one single problem that made rural internet basically unusable for professional work: latency, that super frustrating delay in the signal. And the leap in performance is it's staggering. For years, if you lived out in the country, you were stuck with stuff like DSL, with speeds that were just painfully slow and unreliable. But now, LEO satellite services are delivering speeds that actually rival what you can get in a city. And look, this isn't just about faster movie downloads. This is the difference between being able to reliably be on a Zoom call for your job and being completely locked out of the modern economy. But, and this is a big but, this great migration, all made possible by technology, it is not a simple, happy story of revitalization. On the ground, in these very communities being transformed, a really complex and often painful paradox is unfolding. Because all these new people bring new life, sure, but they also bring profound disruption. This whole phenomenon has even given us a new term, the Zoom town. These are communities that have basically become magnets for remote workers. Now, for a town that's been struggling with people leaving for decades, this new energy can feel like an absolute lifeline. But it comes with a whole set of immense challenges that, frankly, many of them are just not prepared to face.
And this really shows you the two sides of the coin. On one side, you have the promise. New residents with high-paying remote jobs bring investment, they open up new coffee shops and businesses, they bring new life to these communities. But on the other side, you have the peril. A sudden flood of demand for a limited supply of housing sends prices through the roof. It's basically rural gentrification. And it means the very people who have kept these towns alive for generations are suddenly finding themselves priced out of their own homes.
And the strain is deeper than just housing. We're talking about the foundational infrastructure of these towns. Things like water and sewer systems, roads, schools, local doctors' offices.
These systems were often built for a much smaller, stable population. Now they're being pushed to their absolute limits by this rapid, unplanned growth. It threatens the very quality of life that everyone, new and old residents, depends on.
So just as these rural towns are grappling with the biggest opportunity, and let's face it, the biggest challenge they've had in decades, a potential policy shift at the national level threatens to completely change the rules of the game. And the question becomes, are we as a country going to support this new chapter of rural America? Or are we about to pull up the ladder?
You see, for decades, we've actually had a system in place to manage exactly this kind of thing. The USDA, the Department of Agriculture, runs programs that are specifically designed to give loans and grants to help rural communities manage growth, start new businesses, and create jobs. These are the very tools you'd expect to be deployed in a moment just like this one.
But the USDA's own 2026 budget proposal tells a very different story. So in 2025, their rural business programs had over $1.6 billion for loans and over $28 million for grants, okay? Now, the budget estimate for 2026, it's just a dash. And according to the document's own key, that little dash represents zero, a proposed complete elimination of funding.
And this isn't some isolated thing. The same document proposes zeroing out funding for other critical programs. The Rural Energy for America program, cut from $50 million. The Healthy Foods Financing Initiative, gone. This signals a broad and, frankly, a dramatic proposed retreat from federal support for rural economic development.
So what are we actually losing here? I mean, to understand what's at stake, let's just look at one of these, the Red LG program. It gives zero-interest loans to local utilities, who then use that money to fund projects that create and keep jobs in the area. These are the flexible, local investments that big banks often won't touch. They're like a grassroots engine for economic growth. And the proposal to defund programs like this is coming at the precise moment these communities need them the most.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty profound question. We are witnessing a historic bottom-up movement of people choosing to build their lives in rural America. But at the exact same time, we might be witnessing a top-down decision to remove the very support systems designed to help them succeed. So are we as a nation about to pull up the ladder, just as a whole new generation has decided to start climbing?